Welcome everyone to our Woolwich Township Council meeting, Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. Before I start, I will remind council that this portion of the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. I will also remind council to speak clearly and project their voices when they are talking so people viewing at home can hear. Now I'll do roll call of council for the benefit of the public watching this meeting. So when I call your name, please wave at your camera, say here or present. I, Mayor Shantz, am present and chairing this meeting. Councillor Merlihan.
Present.
Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Redicott.
Present.
Councillor Martin.
Present.
And Councillor McMillan.
Present.
Thank you. A motion to reconvene in open session, please. Moved by Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor Redicott. All those in favor? That is carried. Before we begin our agenda, I'll start. The land on which we meet has been here from time immemorial. People have inhabited southern Ontario for about 10,000 years, and we acknowledge the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples who lived here when the settlers arrived and who share this land with us. May we together learn to care for and respect each other, our flora and fauna, and the land we inhabit together. And before we get on with the agenda, let's just pause for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, nothing to come forward from closed. Can I have a motion that the following minutes be adopted as presented? We have council minutes from March 23rd, 2021, Committee of the Whole from April 13th, 2021, Special Council from April 13th, 2021. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Redicott and Councillor Martin, all those in favor? That's carried. Thanks. We have no planning public, but we do have a couple of presentations, and first I'll call on Fire Chief Dale Martin to give us a verbal update regarding the impact of the Ontario Fire College closure. Thanks, and welcome, Chief Martin. You can begin whenever you're ready. Good to see you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Council. As you're aware of, the Fire College is permanently closing, or has permanently closed on March the 31st. There's been a lot of communications going around from different municipalities regarding some of the things that they're going to miss from the Fire College. So we're definitely going to miss some of their courses, which were very heavily subsidized. So anytime we sent any firefighters to the Fire College, we paid a fee of $65, and for that they spent a week at the Fire College, accommodations, all the food, all the courses for $65. So that's pretty cheap. But now with the closure of the college, they're trying to open up a number of regional training centers throughout different municipalities. And right now we have one that's affiliated with Conestoga College and run out of West Trek in Waterloo. So Conestoga College is classified as an RTC, or Regional Training Center. However, when we register somebody for a course, we pay the $65 to the college, even though they're closed. And then we pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 or more for a firefighter to attend the courses that's put on at the RTC. So, you know, we're used to all these courses being subsidized by the government. Now, all of a sudden, the fire college is closed. We can't send anybody up there. However, we probably didn't send as many as some smaller departments because they don't have the manpower or the trainers available within the station that they can provide their own training. So that's for us, probably more fire prevention courses, like our fire prevention officers would go up to the college for courses. Another one is to become a trainer. We used to send firefighters there. So now what the college has done, they want to modernize the training. So they want to open all these RTCs that within the municipalities that we can go there. They also have online courses. So right now I have 3 guys taking an officer training course and a training officers course, and that's totally online. So they can do that all from home through the fire college. And that has like a $65 fee to the course, but they can all do it from home. So that was one of the parts that we couldn't send more guys to the college, because they'd have to basically take a week's holidays in order to go up to Gravenhurst to complete a course. So now they can go online and complete it on their own accord. So that's one way. Another way is using the RTC. So I have one guy with an officer course. It's level 3 on the NFPA, and he has to go, it's called a blended course. So he can do part of it online at home, and then 2 weekends he has to go to Conestoga College to complete it there. So that's a couple of ways that the fire college believes they've modernized the training. However, what we miss with the fire college is their live fire training abilities up there. They have facilities that are second to none. So that's all closed down. A lot of smaller departments, especially within that area. So just so you're aware, there's about 440 some fire departments in the province. 32 of them are all full-time, and all the rest are some degree of volunteer full-time or part-time firefighters. So that's going to be missed, them facilities. We like to get all our firefighters into some live fire training, and we're fortunate in the Waterloo region for the training center we have at West Trek, which is in Waterloo. That's owned by the region. So that's part of what we're going to miss from the fire college. I feel sorry for a lot of departments that fully depended on that. We're in a pretty good area here where we have lots of trainers and facilities in the Waterloo region that we can use for that. So I don't know if you have any more questions.
Okay. Council, do you have questions for Chief Martin? No, I'm not seeing any. So are you feeling like you've got adequate support for your firefighters then with this change?
Yeah, right now, as you're aware, we had asked for Target Solutions, which is an online training course that we got. That we're using that with all the stations right now, especially with COVID. We can't really get too many guys together at one spot. So we're doing a lot of online training, and that seems to be working out well for us. And we're also looking at getting some more online training with the grant that we're hoping to get from the Ontario Fire Marshal. So I think we're doing well. We'll have to see how this online training is going to work for us once we're through this COVID. We'll probably get back together more again and maybe not use the online as much. It's just not the same as being all together in a training session. So, but yeah, right now I feel we're also working with the other 4 township departments as far as sharing our training resources. You know, at one point we would send all our recruits away to get trained, and now within the townships, the 4 townships, we're working on developing our own program that's approved by the Ontario Fire College that we can teach all our own people amongst the 4 states, rather than do one course at each station. We'll combine everybody together and complete the training that way. I see you had a question, Councillor Shantz.
Go ahead, Councillor Shantz.
Yeah, thank you. Through you to Chief Martin. So does the RTC have a capabilities of giving you live fire experience? Or I know there's one in Cambridge. Does Kitchener or Waterloo have a spot that you could use?
Yeah, we have West Trek, which is owned by the region, and it's in the dump on Herb Street, and that's probably one of the newest live fire training facilities that's close to us that we could go to. And so part of West Trek, all the townships and all the cities have a stake in that particular facility. So
Thanks. Councillor McMillan, did I see your hand up, or was that just no? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thanks a lot, Chief.
okay, well, thanks for your support through all this. It is appreciated. So have a good evening.
Take care. Our next presentation this evening comes from Inga Rennie and Mark Schwartz of Trees for Woolwich. Ms. Rennie and Mr. Schwartz, go ahead when you're ready, and I look forward to hearing what you have for us.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors, staff. On behalf of Trees for Woolwich and Tweak, I've come this evening to tell you that notwithstanding all the setbacks and restrictions that all of us have been working with over the past 3 years, or the past year anyway, Trees for Woolwich has been hard at work planning and creating. You may recall I was here in January to unveil the plans for the habitats. I will bring up, I'd like to bring up a slide, but apparently the host has disabled my screen share.
Alex is taking care of it. You should be good now.
I had much more fun slides, but
You should be able to share.
yep.
Here we go.
There we go. So this slide here is just a reminder of the plans for the 6-acre reforestation that is being created to display 5 different habitats that are native to our area. The work on the habitats is well underway, but it turns out that while the habitats was a good start, we were ignoring some real potential, and we were thinking much too small. So now we're here this evening to bring you the Elmira Nature Reserve. As we worked on the habitats, we came to realize that the surrounding 65 acres had tremendous potential, but it was an area that was being slowly degraded by invasive species. Tweak and Trees for Woolwich, together with various community groups, have since 2004 planted about 2,000 trees in that area in various empty fields, and have tried with rather limited success to beat back the buckthorn that is trying to take over the southern portion of that site. What we needed, though, was a long-term vision and a management plan. And thanks to Mark Schwartz of Earthscape, who has decades of experience in the landscape industry, unlike so many of the rest of us, we now have that plan. We have learned that planting trees is different from creating functional ecosystems, which will support plant and animal life in all its glorious diversity, and is self-sustaining once it's established. So the nature reserve, just to orient you, sits on 65 acres of township land. It was apparently handed over to the township when the industrial area was developed. It's largely floodplain, so it's not useful for development really of any sort. It is bordered on the west side by Union Street. On the east side, there's the railroad tracks and a drainage ditch. Southfield runs through the upper portion of it, and it includes a couple of stormwater ponds. So now that you've figured out what area we're talking about, I will hand this over to Mark Schwartz, and he will take you on a virtual tour of the area to give you an idea of what is there and what might be. One of the really exciting features, I think, particularly as COVID drags on longer than anyone had dreamed, is that this area is within walking distance of Elmira, and certainly a bike ride away for many of our residents. I will turn it over to Mark.
Welcome, Mark.
Mark?
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to take you on a walk through the reserve. Some of this exists, some of it's partly in progress, and some of it is in the future. I did want to highlight the team that worked on this. Although I have experience in landscape construction, that's a bit of a stone's throw away from ecological restoration. So we reached out to some experts over the winter. This is part of our conservation plan document that we circulated among these people. So Grand River Conservation Authority, Tallgrass Ontario, Society for Ecological Restoration. So those were the ecological experts. We had someone from the Township of Woolwich, your Ann Roberts, was participating and helping us here, and then Trees for Woolwich also. And then we have two construction companies, Connoisseur Contracting, and then the company I'm with, Earthscape, who are committed to seeing this through. So that's the team that put this plan together. The plan will evolve. As one of my ecological restoration colleagues says, this isn't rocket science, it's much more complicated. So we will have to adapt as we encounter new challenges. So Inga's given you a footprint of where we are here. I'm just gonna highlight where the tour starts. So here is Southfield. This is Union Street. And this is the dog park up here. So we're going to start the tour at Southfield at the very small parking lot. So as we leave the parking lot going north towards the catch and release fish pond, the first thing we're going to see is, we've called it Sugar Maple Lane, and it evokes an old farm lane that with both sides sugar maples. And this is about 70 years from now, so this picture, so we're not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to enjoy that, but our children or grandchildren will. There is a catch and release fish pond. Up at the top here, the dog park, there were some really nice plantings done already with sycamore, American sycamore tree. And so we plan to extend that to like a large grove, because the park is only, let's say, 10% forested, and most parks would be more like 30% or 40%. That would be more typical. So this is sycamores. They're actually a lot younger than they look. They're only 70 or 80 years old. So they're very fast growing trees, especially around water. So we're going to extend that part of the dog park. The walk continues beside the, we call it a water side. It's really a drainage ditch, but it is home to lots of wildlife. And the next part we go through is a Pollinator Meadow. Now, we've developed most of the signs for the park already. So this is our wayfinding for the Pollinator Meadow, and it just highlights some of the insects that you could find in this meadow, or should find, will be able to find. We've got probably most of the signs already developed and ready for final review to print and post. So that takes us back to Southfield. So when we leave Southfield going south towards the habitats, the first thing we'll walk through is something we call White Pine Walk. Oh, there's the meadow. I forgot to show you. So the Pollinator Meadow is just letting the grass grow. The grass in that area north of Southfield is a lot of it is mown for no real purpose. So if we just let it go, it's going to form something called Oldfield Meadow, and it'll be home to a lot more pollinators, birds, reptiles, even snakes and frogs. So that's better for the ecosystem. It also can be a lot more aesthetically pleasing. So White Pine Walk is both sides of the path going south from Southfield will be surrounded by white pines, which are very fast growing trees. So I might get to see something like this before I leave. And we passed through the Carolinian Forest Walk, which is mostly done over the last 10 years. Trees for Woolwich, long before I got involved in this, had planted most of this area. The tree nursery and the habitats you've already been exposed to, so that's in progress. That'll be about 1/3 planted by the end of this year. And then we start through an area called Ancient Yellow Birch Forest and a Cedar Thicket. So these are beautiful existing forests that somehow managed to avoid the axe over the last 70 years. So there's like some 70 to 80-year-old trees in here. Some of them are kind of rare locally. Yellow birch is not a normal tree to find in the forest. And there's a beautiful cedar grove that has got dense shade and nothing in the understory. So this is a little bit more magnanimous trees than we've got, but they're getting close to that. So the next area is spring flowering trees, which our plan is to make this the COVID first responders valley. So we would be planting spring flowering native shrubs and trees in large masses to cover the hillsides here. And then it would be in commemoration of first responders. And then we'll quickly complete. So we have talked to, I just passed through the Indigenous History Trail. We have talked to 6 nations. It's called a storytelling group, and they're responsible for like communicating the Indigenous history and story. And they've agreed that they would like to be involved as far as like commemorating Indigenous history here. This was part of the 6 Nations land grant 150 years ago, 180 years ago. So now we're passing through something cool, I think. So this silver maple swamp is something that exists now. It has silver maples up to 4 feet in diameter. Most of them are more like 2 or 3 feet, but there's some giant trees in here. A swamp sounds maybe a little bit icky, but it's like a great, I mean, ecologically, it's a fantastic place for animals to be. It's also a fantastic place for mosquitoes and other insects, but so don't go there in June. But it's a really beautiful ecosystem that exists already, and we just have to do a little bit of elimination of some invasive species that have crept in, but most of it is beautiful. So that, I think, takes you to the end and then back home to our parking lot. Actually, I'll just highlight in here. This area here where white cedar swamp and red maple, those are proposed. So those don't exist now. Right now it is, I did a survey over the winter, and this area of 7 acres is 95% invasive species. So after it left its agricultural state, the most aggressive species that were around took over, and those were all like invasives that are really not good for the local ecosystems. So we're going to work on getting back the right things in here that are native to the area. But it shows what happens if we don't, because of all the invasives and the disturbance that we've done to these areas, we do have to, we can't just let them go on their own. They're not going to like necessarily get back to the right state without assistance. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Oh, once again, somebody has disabled my screen share.
I have to let go, I think.
Mark, you need to stop sharing. Apparently.
Yeah.
The sharing guy.
You need to stop and reset it. Alex, okay.
Oh yeah.
There we go. All right. So the okay, hold on. What's happened to you here? There we go. Okay. Why will this not? Oh hell.
The joy of Zoom. Is there something I can help you with?
Let's try. Well, I don't know what's happened to the latter part of my, oh, there we go. All right.
We can see it.
I was afraid of that. We've got, let me just see what's happened here.
We can see the screen. We can just see your notes as well.
You can see my notes as well. Well,
Yeah,
never mind
okay.
that. Because this slide really is just a recap of what it is that needs to happen in this area. So in order to provide a reasonable quality natural area that will sustain itself and that will be accessible, we need to get rid of the invasive species. We need to augment some of the trails that are already there. We need to plant about 3,000 trees and add some interpretive and wayfinding signs. And most fun of all is we need to launch the scavenger hunt. So within the next couple of days, we will be launching the scavenger hunt that is in fact going to be on the Township website and on the Healthy Communities website. And so for those of you who are looking for something to do during COVID, whether you have grandchildren or a touch of whimsy of your own, that's a great way to get out of doors, especially now in the spring. So I'm sure that you are thinking this all sounds very nice, but who's going to pay for this? And the good news is that we have been pretty resourceful and have accessed funds from multiple sources. We have some very generous corporate donors. They include Earthscape and Lanxess, who have made multi-year commitments. And I'm optimistic that there are other corporations that will join. We are seeing ever increasing donations from private citizens who think that this is useful and important work that we're doing. And that's really quite encouraging. We got just yesterday, $2,000 showed up from Herb Street Mennonite Church unsolicited. And we had 2 other donations, private donations as well yesterday. To Councillor Merlehan, who was kind enough to design and print the cards that we have, know that those are getting a workout. So this evening, we are not asking for funds. We're asking for some enthusiasm and endorsement for this plan. I will not promise that we will never come asking for funds, but right now, things are in good shape. I should acknowledge the support that we have had from Township staff, most particularly from Ann Roberts, who has really been an ongoing support for us, despite the fact that she keeps having to tell us about things we aren't allowed to do. So I just want to close with an eye to the future. I'm hoping that in the fall, you will join us for a tour of the nature reserve and a celebration of the 10th anniversary of Trees for Woolwich. We were established in October of 2011. So we really would like to be able to celebrate that. Keep an eye on your inbox. Hopefully by then we will be able to gather. I would be happy, as would Mark, to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both Inga and Mark. Tweak and Trees for Woolwich have just been amazing for the township. In a way, I can't believe it's only been 10 years, but it's been 10 years, I guess.
Well, in fairness, Tweak has been around since 2004. And it was in fact Tweak that started planting in that what is now going to become the nature reserve, hopefully, back in 2004 in the South End. And it's quite interesting when you go and you see those trees are pretty big.
Yeah, time passes. I want to say thank you too for your leadership, Inga, because I know that I know you've had many hands helping you, but certainly that doesn't happen without leadership. And so, all volunteer work everywhere. And so that has been really wonderful. We have some
Truly amazing volunteers who really do put their shoulder to the wheel.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks to Earthscape too, and Mark for your contribution, and Lanxess for their contribution, and all the other people who have donated. And I guess that's a plug to contact you if someone feels so inclined. Looking forward to the fall tour. I don't know if you thought you're concentrating on trees. Maybe there's somebody out there I could think of who might be, who would be interested in birds and might be able to put some information out for birds in different places. But
Well, if you access the scavenger hunt, you will find it's not just about trees. It's about all manner of things that people might find in any of the parks in Elmira or down in the habitats area. So trees, birds, flowers, bugs.
Great initiative. A great initiative. I look forward to the fall tour. Council, do you have any questions for Inga or for Mark? No? Council Rohan, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz. Not really questions, but just I want to express my exuberant enthusiasm, I guess, for this project. It's an amazing and what you put together there, and I mean, it'll be even more amazing 70 years from now for future generations to enjoy. I think everybody can, feel after this past year of just getting outside and hitting a trail. I mean, I haven't seen the trails be this busy ever, and having a place like that. I already biked through that area, so I, seeing the transformation will be pretty amazing. And I guess if there is a question, I have a question about the invasive species. They can be kind of difficult to eradicate and take many years. I'm just wondering what kind of thing we're dealing with, and how long that'll take to eradicate at this point.
Mark, I'll let you take that.
Sure. So there's 4 main invasive species that we're dealing with, and we have a different eradication plan for each of them. But an example would be European buckthorn, which is like a small tree, 1/2 inch to 1 inch in diameter, 1.5 inches. So that this summer we have a team of young people that are pulling most of those out with a weed pulling tool. So and then some of the other ones are being cut down with chainsaws. So it's just a matter of, it's like weeding, no different than weeding a garden. We have to keep at it. If we can eradicate the majority of them over the short term, then our long-term weeding problem is much less significant. So we started on that last fall, I guess. And I feel within 2 years or 3 years, we'll have it mostly under control.
And are you dealing with any hogweed? I know that can be pretty nasty to people.
Right. So we don't have hogweed at this point. We have Phragmites, that's the worst one we're dealing with, and then we have European buckthorn and Manitoba maple. So hogweed hasn't showed up that we've seen.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess if anybody is watching this, that would be interested in volunteering, are there opportunities for the general public to come out and help on certain times?
There certainly will be. We keep planning our spring planting season, and then we get locked down and we plan it again. There will be several community plantings. The next community planting for the habitats is scheduled for the 5th of June. And there will be a planting at Bolander Park, COVID willing, on the 29th of May. We shall see. Anyone who wants to get involved can either go to the healthywoolwich.org website, or they can get in touch with Ann Roberts at the Township.
Okay, well, thank you both. I appreciate all the effort. I know there's been so much work go into this project, and it'll be, massive satisfaction for you guys, the group, and the town and the township. This will extend beyond Elmira for sure. So I'm really looking forward to this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas, I noticed you've got your video on. Did you want to add something?
I would just like to extend the thank you as well to Mark and Inga for all their hard work, and Trees for Woolwich, and Tweak as well. Some of you may know that April 18th to 24th is the National Volunteer Week. And this year, the theme is the value of one, the power of many. and it reflects the awe-inspiring acts of kindness by millions of individuals in the magic that happens when we work towards a common goal. So RCS, as well as the township as a whole, and I'm sure council as well, would like to thank many of our volunteers who over the past difficult year have made a difference in the lives of Woolwich residents. So some of those groups include Clean Waterways, minor sports organizations, recreation associations, summer day camp and aquatic volunteers, Trails Group, Trees for Woolwich and Tweak, Volunteer Tree Pruning Program, Woolwich Healthy Communities Coordinating Committee, Woolwich Healthy Communities, our Seniors Association, service clubs, as well as Kiwanis and Lions. And then those Woolwich residents as well too that have contributed through acts of kindness over the past year. So I just wanted to, say a huge thank you on behalf of RCS as well as the township.
Thank you for that, and a very good reminder. We have so many dedicated volunteers in the township. It's just amazing, and we're as good as we are only because of our volunteers. We couldn't do it without them. So thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Shantz, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations too on this project. I was impressed with the original presentation and really impressed with this one now. So I think Councillor Merlehan said pretty well everything that needs to be said, but I just wanted to say thanks. And I know a couple of grandkids that are going to enjoy that area.
For sure. Anyone else? Okay, thanks again for all your work on this. This is really exciting. And I'm with Councillor Shantz and Merlehan. The first one looked exciting, but this is just how many times more? 10?
Bigger is better.
Go big or go home. Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, we have one delegation, and that is Mr. Fry, Stacey Fry, welcome. I don't see you on the screen. There we are. Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead when you're ready. You've got 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me speak to you again. I think the third time in a month. I trust probably use, maybe I've seen the email that was sent out today. I'll just briefly touch. What I'm looking for is a single day. We've nailed it down to 1 day pour to get a silo built up in time for the crop that's coming off the field. And that day is Monday, April the 26th. I know in the email it said Friday. The contractors wanted to make sure that they were ready as well with the concrete trucks. So they decided to push it to Monday instead of Friday. That way they're for sure ready to do that pour. The other thing I'd like to mention is we were fortunate to have a meeting with Jared and also some road staff on Wednesday last week. And that was great to meet face to face and hear each other. And I was made aware that they are planning on re-graveling our road this year. And they figure sometime in June or July. Also wanted to state on Friday, the contractors were out to build or to dig the silo footings where that is to take place, and there were test holes dug as well. In that current location, there was no frost, or we would not be pouring concrete there. Also to note, that spot has been driven on all winter long. If you looked at the pictures that I sent and the position of the manure pit from the road, The gravel pit that we've been using our own gravel of, we've had to travel over that spot all winter long to build up this barn area. So there has been hundreds, at least 100 or more full concrete trucks driving over this spot, driving frost into the ground. From, it was about Christmas time when they started until here in March, and the contractors continue to drive in that spot till we dug the hole on Friday. So I think it's safe to say that the frost is out. I mean, it's out where we dug, and that has been traveled as much or more than the side road that we're bringing this in. So we're looking to bring in 20 to 25 truckloads on the Monday. Also to note, it would probably be a 4 to 6 hour process if we have full loads. Now, we're planning on pouring it either way on Monday, so otherwise, we'd be looking at about 110 trucks roughly coming through the roundabout all day long, 10 to 12 hour pour due to that many more trucks needing to come through, and backtracking again through the roundabout. So 220 trucks through the roundabout. I think it would be better all around to go with 20 trucks, 25. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Bouchon?
Yeah, thank you to Mr. Fry. Is that pour going to be weather dependent? What happens if we have nasty weather or rain on Monday?
I think maybe that is part of the reason for pushing it to Monday. Friday's supposed to be a really nice day, and I think they're hoping for that extra few days for it to be in better condition.
Other questions? Councilor Martin?
Thank you. I'm glad to see the Monday date. If you had stayed with the Friday date, I wouldn't have supported. But I think the Monday date, I can live with that. Excuse me. I spoke to our grader operator today and asked him if there's any frost in the roads. And he said there's some roads that are very, very soft, and there's other roads that have firmed up. And I asked him if it would be a good idea to give an exemption. He said, well, he'd wait at least a week. So next Monday brings me into that week. And beginning of March on Craft Drive, we give that gentleman a week. The weather was a lot colder, so I'm quite willing to cut off a week in April and pour your cement. Make it happen.
Anyone else? Okay, so if we want to do this, we would need to have a motion of reconsideration. Is that correct, Val? No?
I would just, if you're just gonna do a one-off, because he put his request in before you pass the resolution of no exemptions, deal with this one and then go on to no exemptions after that. Because he was in front of council before you passed that motion.
Okay, so we just need a motion.
Just a motion to allow it.
Okay, so the suggested wording, if, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Martin.
I would also suggest that if we're giving an exemption the last week, that everybody else that have asked, we give them one as well, just to be fair.
Okay, let's deal with this one, and then that would be a separate motion, I would say. So, Councilor Shantz, go ahead.
Sorry, before you bring the motion to the table, I would suggest that it doesn't be a one day. It's not going to be a one day, that we may as well just pass a motion for the week. That way, if we have nasty weather on Monday and they want to push it off till Tuesday, they don't have that problem. I think if they can run the road on Monday, they can run the road on Tuesday. So I would suggest we just give a blanket for the rest of the month for him so that he can pick the nicest day.
Okay. The suggested wording that I have here would then be that the Council of the Township of Woolwich consider a delegation request from Stacy Fry on April 20th, 21, respecting a half load exemption on New Jerusalem Road, grant an exemption beginning Monday, April 26th, 2021. Are you making that motion, Councillor Shantz? Is there a seconder for this?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Martin seconded that. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Merlehan?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Shantz, to Mr. Poupay. I'm just wondering if he can chat about the road condition. You know, we heard, you know, kind of word of mouth through Councillor Martin that a grader thinks that it's appropriate to grant the exemption. I'm just wondering if that's staff's position still, whether it's changed.
Mr. Poupay?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shantz, to Councillor Merlehan. I don't know what conversations took place. That is not senior management's position on that. We stand behind the decision that and our reporting. But again, this is certainly council's decision to do that and grant an exemption to the seasonal load limit restriction.
Okay, and we are talking about an exemption of like what, 4 days or something, 4 or 5 days? Is that?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah. 5. Yeah.
31
Okay.
days. Yeah. 5.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Anything else? I'll call the question then. All those in favor? And that is carried. You have your exemption, Mr. Fry.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
How's that, just quick question, how's that work? Is there an email that I can send to the concrete for proof, or just word of mouth?
I'll ask staff. Mr. Poupay, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shantz. Based on the exemption, what we'll do is that we will send you, Mr. Fry, the resolution from this evening, and then staff they'll do is they'll cover the signs so that when the drivers arrive, the signs will be covered.
Okay, thank you, Jared.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Martin, did you want to?
Well, I suggested we exempt everybody because at the end of the month, but I saw a whole bunch shaking their heads, so I'd like some discussion on that.
Does someone want to respond to Councillor Martin's suggestion? Councillor Shantz, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my feeling on that is that this is time sensitive, and we're doing this so that Mr. Fry can get his crops put away. The other exemptions aren't necessarily time sensitive, so I maybe can't support that as much. It's only a matter of week for everybody else, so I don't think that's a problem for other people to wait.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we're finished with this item then? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We have no unfinished business. We have a couple of consent items. Someone like to move the consent items? Moved by Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Motion that council convenes into committee of the whole. Moved by Councillor Merlehan and Redikoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we have the recommendations from Committee of the Whole dated April 13th. So a motion that the summary of recommendations of Committee of the Whole be adopted. And we have a whole list of them here. Maybe I should read the headings just for people who are listening from home. We have a municipal access agreement with EHTEL Networks, ATEL Networks, workplace violence and harassment prevention policy program update. We have a regional official plan update. We have modifications to the Thomasfield Homes Hopewell Crossing subdivision agreement, phase 2, supplementary subdivision agreement, Southfield 4 draft plan. We have Water Street and Young Street infiltration remediation project, selection of engineering consultant. Municipality of Grey Highlands, endorsement of the Township of Halleck resolution about the Ontario Fire College closure. A motion of endorsement of the City of Kitchener resolution regarding Planning Act timelines. That's a long one. And I think that's it. Do we have a mover and a seconder on that? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Schatz. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Staff reports and memos. Director of Finance, Richard Petter. There he is. Welcome. And you can give us an overview of your report when you're ready. And I was going to include you in other business to talk about the budget, but maybe you just want to get it all over with at once.
Sure, that would be fine. So dealing with this report, further to the conversation we had last week at Committee of the Whole, and indicated that we have heard from a few of our businesses within Woolwich, looking to see if we were going to once again in 2021 have a tax deferral program. You know, as everyone is quite well aware, we are still in the middle of the pandemic. I know the future does look brighter, I think, than where we were at least this time last year. So essentially the program is going to be very similar to what we did last year. You know, we're still not making it an onerous process for businesses and residents, so it'll be for both to be able to send in an application for this program. And we're going to still be doing that through our website, just as we did last time. And of course, if somebody doesn't have access to the computer, they can phone into the office and we can give them a hard copy for them to fill out. The only difference, I think, from this program from what we did last year was last year we were just dealing with the 2 installment payments for the final tax bill. So we're going to be doing that again for this year, at least that's what is proposed in the report, but we're also going to be doing the second installment for the 2021 interim tax. Or yeah, because the first installment has already gone by. And so we still have the second one. The original due date for that is May the 7th. And we're proposing that if people sign up for the program, we're going to have the application deadline open until May 31st. So we do realize it's beyond the due date for the interim, but we will still allow people to sign up for it. And this will allow them to have the 60-day deferral of each of the due dates for the last remaining installment for the interim and the 2 installment dates for the final to get into the program. So really from that, I think the report is hopefully pretty explanatory. As I said, you know, this is very similar to what we did last year. We're trying not to make it onerous, you know, and we'll see what kind of an uptake we have from our property owners. You know, we will still have some advertisement put into the Observer, as well as pump out some of this stuff through our social media channels, and then in turn we will have information on our website as well. So just before I conclude, just in the recommendation, you can tell I was using last year's report as a bit of my template. So if you go into the recommendation under the first clause, right at the end of it, I just need that friendly amendment if council decides they want to pass this report, and just have it say F10 2021 as opposed to F12 2020. So just want to put that out there. But I'd be happy to take any questions council may have, at least on this report for now.
Questions? Someone like to move the recommendation? Do I need to read it? Councilor Martin?
No, just gonna make a comment.
Okay.
Just because we had some inquiries does not mean there's a problem out there. I mean, I can understand when people would ask if it benefits them. And I'd also say that I think after our first installment was made this year, I think, Richard, you said 95% of all our taxes were paid. And if that's the case, I don't think there's a big problem out there.
Anyone else? So, someone like to move, Councilor Merlihan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation as is with the friendly amendment. But I do want to comment on that last comment. It's pretty easy to say that, you know, having a steady paycheck coming in from an owner's pension, not everybody has that option. And if we can, even if it's 5% of the businesses, that's a pretty small outreach that council can do to help some of our citizens in a difficult time because of something that is not their fault and something that you can't plan for, especially for an entire year. So I'm just getting kind of fed up with that kind of attitude. That really is unnecessary to even say, and to say that these are problems of people's own will and that we're not willing to help out in such a tiny way. Woolwich Township will get their money 60 days later. That's it. I think that's an easy thing for council, and I'm positive nobody else feels that way on the rest of council, but it just needs to be said. There's been comments said so many times throughout this year that are so offensive that need to be called out, and I don't want to hear it anymore. So I will move the motion as is.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councilor Redicott? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Mr. Brown, go ahead.
Just one additional thing that I wanted to reiterate and highlight and emphasize was the fact that even with this, the support for this, Richard and I will still be looking at options for the best options for allocating the COVID relief money that had been set aside, including, our discussion around support for some of our community support organizations and agencies. Richard and I had talked earlier this week that, based on council's foresight to establish that, we should be able to balance both the, we're optimistic of balancing the deferral program along with the other support discussions that we've had. I just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, Councilor McMillan?
Yeah, sorry, I know we've already voted. I'd just like to thank staff for the amount of work that's going into it. I think it would have been really easy to just mail this one in and say, we're passing this off, or we're doing it the exact same as we did it last year. And you could have just filled out a template and moved on, and nobody would have been any wiser. And it's obvious that a lot of effort is going in to try to maximize this money and help out our constituents as best as possible. So thanks for all the extra effort.
Thank you. Anything else on this one? Okay. I had asked Richard if he had any comments on the federal budget that came down, and he's our finance guy, and he does. So I'm going to give him the floor to tell us what impart his wisdom on us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I do have at least a bit of a document that I just want to have Alex put up on the screen. And hopefully everyone has seen the email communication that came out. They do actually do a really good job summarizing some of the things that that we see both within the federal budget. I think they sent out a similar communication when the provincial budget was released. So if you haven't, it's a bit of a summary, at least in this document. And some of the things I would say that we've seen, it is, I would say, fairly fresh coming out. There were some things I think we sort of got some hints that were coming. But as staff, we are still kind of going through it and trying to pick out exactly what some of it really means for us here at Woolwich. And then, of course, once things start to roll out from a program perspective, that's when we really still really understand actually what the applicability is to our residents. But one of the things I would say from a high level, looking at the federal budget that was released, I would say a couple of themes that came out of it. One of them was really how the federal government was going to help the country get out of the pandemic, or help us get through the COVID pandemic. I think the second theme is just not just how we get out, but also then what are we going to be doing for the next couple of years after that? How are we going to be helping reestablish the economy, getting the economy up and going again? And then there are still some things they have in there that they're looking at, I would say, more long-term goals. So really the first one looking at it, they did put in some provisions that they're going to be giving out monies to the province to deal with some of the childcare and early learning. And I think as the communication talks about, they're looking at reaching a goal of having, I would say, affordable childcare. And I can see the goal of getting down to $10 per day as the average cost by 2026. But by next year, they want to at least have that down by 50%. So we've heard that here within Woolwich. I think when we were going through what was going to be happening with the Elmira daycare center, we do realize that there's a big need for people who have children and need that childcare, and really good quality childcare. So I think the federal government is coming up through this budget to help allocate money towards that. I'd say the second thing, is dealing with the housing stuff. I know this is something that this council has been dealing with, of saying, how can we promote affordable housing? How can we make sure that there's a good supply of a variety of housing options, not just from single detached homes, but, from affordable in this perspective. I also know one of the other things that has been, something we've talked about at this council is on the broadband side. So with the rural and remote communities with their high speed, the federal government is stepping up and they're doing the same thing. So it is something that, we will be looking at. I know I've been in conversations with some of my counterparts at the region. So some of the things, as I said, I think that I see as a little more pandemic related, from the long-term care. When we saw what happened at the beginning part of the pandemic and how it was really a tough thing for our long-term care homes to go through this pandemic, and I think the federal government is trying to put in money to help strengthen that system and making sure there's standards in place. But also from the tourism side, I think we really saw, especially right now, we're at a stay-at-home order. We used to have visitors coming into the township, the St. Jacobs area, and in different parts of the township. But with the stay at home, we don't really have as much of that foot traffic. We know, concerts have been put on hold, a number of festivals have been put on hold. And I think the government is trying to put money into getting these festivals and these events back up and running, and also be able to help support the tourism industry by creating this tourism relief fund. But once again, when they make these announcements, everything is always this means, and see, what we can do even to help our tourist industry to be able to tap into this. And I know Jenna Morrison will be having some can help our businesses in that regard. We also see some of the investment that the feds are going to be making in from transit, and even that from the transit side, I would say that really, gets into the next theme, talking about the climate, because from the transit, they're looking at trying to, have some funding available for, I guess, for us municipalities in the region to electrify our fleet, as well as to have zero emissions transit vehicles. And then you can see that the federal government is still putting a pretty heavy emphasis on trying to reduce our greenhouse gas and get those reductions done. So I kind of leave it there for now. So that is still a lot to chew on. If you kind of joking around to say if you have insomnia, you can read the full budget package. It's fairly big, fairly lengthy. Not saying you'd want to do that, but if you feel so inclined to, you could. But I just want to give council just at least a bit of a brief overview and a synopsis.
Thanks a lot for that. Richard, I wonder if you could send us that summary that you used for your slide. That would be, I would find it helpful or interesting anyway. Any questions? Councillor McMillan.
No questions. And I don't want to get into the partisan politics and say whether it's a good budget or a bad budget, but this was the first budget that was presented by a woman. And I think that was pretty cool. And I think we should all acknowledge that, regardless of what you think of the actual document, the fact that it was presented by a woman for the first time is worth our tip of the cap.
Thank you for that. Good point. As I sit here on this screen. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Richard. I appreciate that. Okay, we'll move on to other business then. And Ms. Hummel, Val, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Shantz. Council on the revised agenda is a memo about 2 training sessions. There was a bit of a timing issue, so I had to whip it onto the revised. Council hasn't had much time to review it, so I'm gonna quickly review it with you. The first training session is one hosted by the region on Indigenous training sessions for all lower tier councils in the region. 2 Zoom sessions are required. There's 4 time slots for each that you get to choose from throughout May and June. The region is conducting training in closed session. Each member of council must participate once in session 1, then once again in session 2, and you have to do session 1 before you do session 2. I'll be in touch with each of you to get your preferred time slots, and then I'll get the meeting invitations into your calendars. Tonight, what I need you to do is pass the motion to participate in training in closed session, because that's a requirement of your procedural bylaw. So that's the first thing you'll have to do. I'm just going to quickly go through the second one. The second training session is being set up by me. It's an affordable housing education session with council, township, and regional planning staff. It's a Zoom, also in closed session. And Woolwich hosting, it needs 2 hours. So it will be outside of our regular meeting schedule. It needs to be done before the end of May. David suggested a Thursday or Friday afternoon as a start. Tonight, I'm looking for preliminary input on timing for the best day, and just trying to avoid a plethora of emails and trying to figure out when the best day is for council to do this. Would it be daytime, evening, morning? Calendars are full. And while I don't want to take up anyone's evening, perhaps early on the evening of Tuesday, May 18th. I hate to say that, but input appreciated.
Okay, council, an extra 2-hour training meeting. Any thoughts? Councilor McMillan, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize for being the the Debbie Downer on this, but I think we've got a couple of Tuesdays open in Tuesday evenings open in May. I think that we need to get away from having the expectation that council is available during the day. I don't think that being retired should be a job qualification for being a counselor. And I apologize, for the people who are, and would rather do it during the day. I think it's fantastic to have retired people as counselors. I just don't think it should be a requirement. And if we have a couple of evenings open, I think it should be on a Tuesday. We have back-to-back, or we have 2 Tuesdays open in May. And I think that a Tuesday evening from 5:30 to 7:30 gets us out of here in good time and gets away from that expectation that we have our days available beyond what we already do, answering emails and phone calls and corresponding with constituents.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments? Do you like it? Does a Tuesday night work for you guys?
Yeah, Tuesday night would work well. I agree with Councillor McMillan's comments.
Okay,
Yeah, I did all that.
yep. Okay, I think we got thumbs up on that. So just pick one of the Tuesday nights. Councillor Shantz, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through you to Val. That Indigenous one, is that different than the one that we already took, or is that, or do we have to take a second number one?
It's the same trainer, but it's builds on what you've already done.
So what you called number one is really number two. So we're doing 2 and 3?
Yeah.
Is that, okay. We've already done one. We're doing 2 and 3. Okay, just so we're all on the same page. Go ahead, Councillor McMillan.
Can I just apologize to staff who have to give up another Tuesday night because of me? Sorry. But I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Just the closed motion.
Oh, yeah, okay, so it's almost looking for a motion for us to meet in closed on both accounts for training. Is it one single motion, Val?
Yes.
Would someone like to move that? Councillor Shantz, seconded by Councillor McMillan. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Mayor's report on regional matters. I have a couple things I just want to bring you up to date on. One is that the region is planning to do a 4-way stop at Fountain and Meadow as a pilot project. There have been a few intersections in the rural areas that various councillors have brought to the attention of regional council. And while they don't fit the current warrants for a 4-way stop, they're going to go ahead with the 4-way stop and see how it goes, and then they're going to relook at their warrants. So that's good news there, especially when Conestoga meets lets out, then it can be pretty difficult for people. Another thing that came up is there is a motion coming tomorrow night about election signs on public property. So the motion that's coming is from Councillor Erb. I'm just reading exactly what it says here. So to eliminate the placement of election signs on property owned by the region. So we haven't debated that yet, so that will be debated tomorrow night. The other another thing I wanted to talk about a bit was the airport expansion, and you probably heard in the news about some things about that. What we're going to try to do is get the region to come and do a presentation to council on that whole area, sort of the whole, all the plans that are going on around there, and just let you ask the regional folks any questions that you may have. So I'm not sure, David, Mr. Brenneman, do we have a date for that?
Not yet.
Okay, we're working on that.
Yep.
Yeah, and lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to our residents for paying attention to the public health measures. You know, the variants of concern are so much more transmissible. The lockdown is in place to give us space to get the health system under control across Ontario, and you've all heard about the issues that we're having with the health system at the moment. So, you know, gathering in groups is inviting a broader spread, and so, you know, we continue to ask for your support and your cooperation by maintaining distances. We've left the parks open. We've left the playgrounds open. If you're there, please respect the distances, wear a mask, and keep everybody safe. So thank you. I know, you know, as we get vaccines into a significant number of people over the next weeks and months, we'll expect to gather together again safely. And I really look forward to that. And I know you really look forward to that too. So let's keep each other safe and get there safely. And that is the end of my report. Questions? Okay. Council, any reports? Updates? Seeing none. Anything on the outstanding activity list? Okay. Motion that, excuse me, the following bylaws be introduced and read for a first and second time. Do you want me to read them or are we good? No? Okay. There's a number of bylaws here and you can see them online if you're listening from home. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sean, seconded by Councillor Redcott. All those in favor? Carried. Motion that the committee of the whole rise and report to council, moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Merlehan. All those in favor? It's carried. Motion that council confirms and adopts the proceedings of committee of the whole, moved by Councillor Redicott, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? That's carried. We have two items of correspondence on the agenda this evening. One from Tango Networks. It's a public note. Do we have to read that? Is it public notice stuff?
It is. Yeah. Well, it's because the correspondence is there, that's good enough. You don't have to,
Okay.
You don't have to do this. Sorry.
Okay, so that's a public meeting regarding a proposed communications tower site. And the other is from the Waterloo Region District School Board requesting support regarding advocacy for installation of stop arm cameras on school buses. And I think we should address that one if someone would like to. Councillor Shantz.
Yes, thank you. Through you, I guess I just want to make a couple of comments on that. I didn't want to just go ahead and rubber stamp it. In a previous life, I was fairly intimate in this whole area, and this problem has been going on for decades, like I said. And I guess I'm not sure how much cameras are going to help. And they refer to one here with the Lydia Hurley situation, and that a camera would not have helped that situation at all. That was totally a situation where the driver was distracted. And I think that's where the problem is. It's distracted driving and people being in a hurry. It's not a case of where people don't know the rules of the road. And I guess the one sentence here talks about putting it on in Ottawa, putting them on there, and in 1 month they had like 60 people that they caught. So that just tells me that it's not a deterrent. It's just a good way to catch people from doing things wrong. And so I wish there was a better way that we could just have some kind of a deterrent that people would stop doing it rather than do it unless they get caught. And I think that's what this does. I know they were playing around with different fines and things like that. And they wanted to increase the fines like to $1,500 or something like that at one point. And the problem with that is the judges have a hard time laying those charges, and it's now has 6 demerit points. And so the judge again has a hard time to lay that or to go with that charge. And so a lot of people get off because of that. So I guess I just wanted to give that background before we just went ahead and passed it. So I didn't know whether other people had comments or not.
Anyone else? Councillor McMillan?
So just a question to Councillor Shantz, are you in favor, but just wishing there was a better solution, but this is kind of the best that we have right now?
I guess I'm on the fence. I'm not sure it's going to solve the problem. It might catch a lot of people doing it wrong and going through the stop arm. or through the lights, but I don't think it's going to solve the problem. And I just wish there was a better way that we could handle it that would solve the problem. But anything that's going to help, I'm in favor of. Safety is a #1 priority in that department. So I think they're looking for something that they're not going to find personally. But I can support it, I guess.
It might, especially if someone gets caught on camera and gets a ticket or a fine, you know, they might think twice the next time. So maybe over time it will help. Councilor Merlihan?
Yeah, I kind of felt like the letter and the justification for doing that was pretty weak on the behalf of the school board. I think those examples, they especially the Lydia Hurley example was, you know, a garbage truck and the person distracted on his phone. But I don't know. I anytime you start getting into cameras, more surveillance, things like that, I always want to pause and I think everybody should pause before we go there and where the data is going, where all that other stuff is going, and I don't think we do that enough. And I think to the general public out there, you know, you get on these websites and you just agree to whatever the terms are, and you're giving away all of your private information, everything, and you know, who knows what is happening with the data. You know, just the letter didn't have enough information to really do it. And I agree with Councillor Shantz that, you know, it's probably going to cause more problems maybe in other areas that were unintended, rather than solving the problem of people just, you know, be responsible citizens and follow the laws. that would be great if I'd make everybody's job so much easier if people just did that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence as well.
Yeah, I hear you about the cameras. I think that ship sailed a long time ago. On camera everywhere we are. Anyone else? Would someone like to move a support, or Councilor McMillan?
Yeah, what would the motion sound like? Are we just asking the mayor to write a letter to our local MPP and the provincial government requesting their support on this issue, or would this be a motion passed by council advocating?
It just says that they're asking us to advocate to the province, so it would be a letter, I would imagine.
So I would move that we ask Mayor Shantz to write that letter to MPP Harris and to the Ministry of Education and the provincial government requesting support on this issue.
A seconder. Councillor Redekop, any further discussion? Councillor Shantz and Councillor Merlihan?
I guess one thing that I just thought of, and I'm not sure whether we have the information or not, is what happens in the winter when we have the inclement weather and things like that, and snow on the camera lens and all that kind of stuff. How many months of the year are the images not clear enough that we can lay those charges and things like that? It might be nice to have some more background before we go ahead and do that. Maybe some more information, I don't know. And what Councilor Merlihan was talking about as far as cameras and freedom of information, I know we went that route when they were talking about putting cameras inside the bus and what to do with that information when you had it. So this would probably be another area where they would have to study that a little bit more. But I guess I'd like a little bit more information on how it's been working since it's been on board in Ottawa, and how it works in the wintertime or in the inclement and rainy weather.
Yeah, just a final thought for me. This is kind of like all of us trying to come up with solutions for traffic calming. And the more you talk about it, and the more things are applied to roads and stuff, the more you see that pretty much, you know, there isn't really much out there that changes human behavior to just obey the laws, which might be cynical, but I guess I am being cynical because I don't think, you know, whatever we throw at it, however much money, whatever we think is going to change behavior, it hasn't been working, and I'm not sure this is it. So my only request is if we pass the motion is if some of these concerns could be put in, asking for a follow-up clarification on privacy issues and also some of the things that Councillor Shantz is leery about as well.
Okay, I guess, I mean, really, we're responding to the school board, whether we support the school board in their quest to get cameras on the arms. And so I understand what you're saying, and I guess I would ask, who are we going to ask for that information? The school board? Councillor Shantz and then McMillan.
Yeah, I guess we could get that information from the school board. I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword. If we say we're not going to go along with this, it makes us look like we don't care about safety on school buses. So it's one of those things where if you don't follow along, it makes you look bad, and if you do follow along, you're kind of just doing it for the sake of it. But anyway, we could get that information from the school board, but maybe it doesn't really matter in this case. I don't know.
Councillor McMillan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we don't need to solve all the problems here tonight. We're just asking for the ministry to explore this. They've put cameras, they've done pilot projects with cameras on stop arms. The number of cars that are going through is crazy. The red light cameras, radar cameras, they find that they get a lot of people at the start, and then it diminishes over time because people start to follow the laws. So I'm not downplaying the issues that are being brought up, but that's for other people to solve. All we're saying is, can the province please look at this? That's it. So I think we don't need to get into where we're going to get this information and who's going to follow up. We're just saying, please look at this and try to help out.
Councillor Ryan, did you have your hand up again?
I'm not trying to solve any issues tonight, especially when it comes to this. I think I expressed my defeatism when it comes to changing human behavior. But I think a blanket we think this is a good idea. I think we should pass along concerns and that, this is maybe, if council wants to go that way, then that they look at it. I mean, the school board is going to have some cooperation with police on this, because otherwise they're just taking pictures of people. You have to be able to enforce this. And so I imagine our police force would probably be better to comment on the effectiveness and whether or not people get charged at the end of the day. But anyway, let's vote. We're not going to figure it out tonight.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so we'll get a letter together to the province asking to speed up the process for the installation, and maybe do a follow-up with the school board on some of those other items. Thanks. We have no public notice, no notice of closed meetings, and no notice of motion. So the final passage of the bylaws, the motion that the following bylaws in the hands of the clerk be read a third time and finally passed, and that they be numbered as bylaw numbers 30-2021 to 38-2021, and that they be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Shantz and Councillor McMillan. All those in favor? That's carried. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So thank you, everyone. A motion that the meeting adjourns to meet again in regular session on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Councillor Redekop and Councillor Merlihan, all those in favor? That's carried. And in closing, Council would like to thank all of you who participated or tuned into the meeting tonight on our YouTube live stream. Council members and staff, I'll remind you to stay quietly connected on the Zoom until Alex confirms that the live stream has stopped. Good night, everyone.